Welcome into the ATX Luxury Connection podcast. I'm your host, Wil Kirwan, and today our guest is residential realtor Lindsey Hicks. Welcome in, Lindsay. It's such a great pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here.
Pleasure's all here. So why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself? Tell me about how you got into real estate in Austin.
Sure. So I am one of those unique native Austinites. I was born and raised here, which I actually feel like gives me a leg up and allows me to be a sponge of useless information and facts. So if you're in for it, that's what I'm here for. What got me into real estate is there was a open lane for people who truly care about people and connecting. And a lot of times real estate's very transactional. And for me, it's so much more. So it seemed like I could really do quite a bit more than the average agent.
Yeah, Austin definitely has that reputation of nobody's better than you and everybody's just good enough. And I feel like that's really good for building relationships. How do you see that theme happening and showing itself through Austin, especially in the lens of real estate?
In the lens of real estate, you can really do business one of two ways. I mean, there are a lot of wholesalers out there that do very, very well. You have your investors. Austin's fantastic for that. And that requires a specific kind of agent that is very transactional, which, yes, we can do. But I tend to prefer to connect with my people a little bit more and truly understand them and how best to help them. So that's kind of the agent that I feel is mostly needed here for the people, is somebody who truly can understand and wants to help them.
So when you're building these relationships with people, what do you think about? A lot of times there's that very transactional nature, but for you, how do you best build those relationships with people where it's like, I might not be working with this person for a house for 5 or 6 years, but it's going to be a good process?
For me, to make it a good process for a client and make it as seamless as possible is really in the questions up front. I spend an exhausting amount of time with my clients up front, truly asking them the right questions, not just any question, but the right questions to fully understand what their goals are, what they think that they need, and then read between the lines and hear what they actually need and see where those lines can blend and how you can truly help them.
So you talk about the right questions. So what are the right questions to ask people?
Most of the time, it's what do you see for your family? What are your goals? What are your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing? If it were a Sunday afternoon, what would you be doing? Where would you go? What are your 10-year goals from now? Whether you plan on staying here or not, what does that look like? Because you might be able to help them find an investment property, even though they're not physically planning on staying in Austin for 10 years. So you just have to hear what they're saying and figure out how it can best work for their situation.
Yeah. What do you find most rewarding about doing all of this? It sounds like you're ready to help people with just about any phase of that real estate journey. And it can be really daunting for a lot of people, obviously. But what makes it so rewarding for you? What gets you up in the morning to come and help all these people find just that perfect house?
Yeah. So what's most rewarding for me, although, of course, it's really fun to win the deal and just be like, oh, we were able to steal this amazing house for my clients, just be their hero. But what's truly the most rewarding for me is getting to talk to them and connect and learn their families. They invite you into their home. They let you become part of their family. You get to meet their kids, and then their kids connect with you. And having that lifelong relationship, it does sound a little cheesy, but it's actually a real thing when your clients call you because they just want to hang out. They just want to do something with you. Or when you call them and invite them to a photo shoot, they're so excited to see you, and it feels like no amount of time has been skipped. You're able to pick up where you left off. That's super rewarding.
Yeah, that's really great. Was there a particular client that ever really got you into this mood and got you into the real estate market like this?
Oh man, there's so many clients. It could be the simplest of transactions, but there's one client that really stuck out to me. I have actually helped them with, I believe, about 6 homes now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I told you, I'm their realtor for life. They're so lovely. They were looking for a home that's a corporate retreat out in Lockhart, and we originally were not looking in Lockhart. We were looking around San Antonio and Bernie area, but we've partnered it with what makes the most sense. Again, listening to what they needed. And so we found them an area not too far from the Austin airport because they want to bring their their business partners into town and have somewhere to stay. Plus, you have the great Lockhart barbecue. They get a little bit of country feel, but you also have room to do what you wish on land. Let's just put it that way. And so after that, the clients kept reaching out to me for their friends and their families and their kids. And it just felt so rewarding that they trusted me that much to keep passing my name out to people, but then also they have a lot of kids, but then also to handle each and every one of their kids. And then when they recently bought a property out in Oklahoma, they asked me again, who do I know? But again, they trust me year after year after year. And it's just so rewarding because they invited me over for Thanksgiving. And while, of course, wasn't able to go, it's so nice to have that invitation.
Yeah, it's truly amazing just how great those relationships that you build with people are. So much of what we do in business and what we see is all based around these relationships. You're talking about a lot of different people and a lot of different properties there. Were those all similar properties, or was it like one was like a house on 1/6 of an acre in East Austin? Was it something that was like on a 1/4 acre in the '04? Was there anything like a big ranch? What were all of these different properties? Were they various, or were they all very similar in what they were looking for?
It's a variety. So the corporate retreat was almost like a gentleman's ranch. So it was 14 acres with this beautiful barn dominium on it. And then you also had ATV trails. So very unique and very fun, but not being too far from Austin. And then we put their kids out in a higher end luxury home out towards Sweetwater. So in Southwest Austin, they themselves live in a very prestigious part of Lakeway. And every home's just a little bit different. With that particular client, we have not tinkered with the condo realm, but that's not out of the scope of what we do. It's just nice to be able to drive a little bit and see other things that you don't typically see every day on your commute.
Yeah. So how does dealing with these high-end clients differ from dealing with the regular family that's moving to Austin? What really sets that relationship apart from working with somebody that's just in a much more transactional nature?
The way I see it is people are people. Everybody has their challenges and their criteria. It doesn't matter if you make, like $50,000 a year or $500,000 a year. It's what works best for you and how can we get you something that financially makes sense for you in your moment and also enhances your financial portfolio overall. I think it's really a case-by-case basis, to be perfectly honest. And it's, again, truly listening and hearing what people need and finding out what will help them the most.
Yeah. So obviously, some of your buyers have some fairly sensitive issues around their real estate transactions. How do you help to facilitate those sorts of transactions? How do you make sure that everything is very much done in a manner that's going to respect their privacy?
Yes, that is a very, very big one here. So we do a lot of LLCs, a lot of trusts. We do a lot of 1031 exchanges for more savvy investors or people who don't quite know if they have an investment property. I do educate them on these things and how best, even if they're not the luxury market, it's how best to stretch their dollar and make the most sense.
So what is a 1031 exchange?
Yeah. So a 1031 exchange can only be used investment property to an investment property. And it's basically where you take the equity and you roll it over into your next property. So you're not truly having to pay any sort of capital gains or anything like that. So you can really maximize your money by taking the equity from one home, putting it into the other, and then you just rinse and repeat.
So it's basically a way to get around like that $250,000 cap that...
If you're single. If you're married, it goes higher.
Oh, good point. Well, I'm single, so that's how it typically runs. So with those 1031 exchanges, is it like a lot of work to do? Is it a lot of paperwork, or is it something that is really easy and people are just intimidated because it sounds obscure?
It's actually rather convoluted, and there's a timeline on it too, which is very hard for a lot of people that need a more flexible timeline. So you have 45 days to identify your 3 properties and report that back to your lender, and it has to be approved. And you really hope that those 3 properties didn't get snatched out from underneath you. So it is very time sensitive, but if it works out, which most time it does, if it works out, it really helps you save on paying those taxes.
Sounds like you've done a lot of them. How many 1031 exchanges have you done?
Oh gosh. Probably close to 30.
Wow.
it doesn't really feel like that much. But we have a lot of investors here in Austin.
Austin's a great town because everybody's got that business savvy about them, right?
Austin's a great town for investing if you're the right kind of investor, because there are several different ways to invest.
Awesome. Yeah, so with all of these different things around like investing in properties, buying your own home, tell me what you think the best clients to work with. Who do you like working with more? Is it the investors, or do you like working with the family that's like looking for their home?
I love the family. I mean, investors are wonderful because they're transactional. There's no emotion behind them. It's numbers and it's clean cut. If the numbers don't make sense, we move on. With families, it's a lot more emotional. So yes, it does take quite a bit more time, but it's that much more rewarding as well because, again, they're inviting you into their lives and you learn some pretty interesting things from these people.
Yeah. Yeah, and so really comes down to finding that right property. It's when you're dealing with the family, it's not necessarily about the number of square feet and the price behind it. With family, you've got all these other factors like the emotional factors, like what school districts. Why is it beneficial for these clients to work with someone as experienced as you, just to navigate the Austin real estate market? I know you work with a lot of people that come in from different places.
Absolutely. Most of the time when people are relocating here, they know nothing about Austin other than it's really fun, or else one way or another, everybody thinks we ride horses. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten that, which is great. But I think why it's so important for people to work with me is because not only do I have over a decade of boots on the ground experience in the real estate market, but I was a native Austinite. Again, I can tell you where the best places are to eat, where it makes sense. When I hear people's stories about what they're looking for, instantly in my head, I start going to what neighborhoods could best fit them, what side of town, even the outskirts would fit best for them. And it's not usually areas that they've heard of because it's not on social media.
So that's a great question. Just get in a few rapid fire questions for you. So I love to talk lifestyle. I mean, Austin was a place that I came to, and I fell in love with it around the live music culture. Let's talk about a few of these different lifestyles and talk about the best parts of town for people. So if you're a big outdoorsy person, what would you say is the best part of town and why?
Ooh, Southwest Austin or Northwest, anything west, because you get a lot of the green belts. The topography changes quite a bit, and that's where people can get away and do these little secret hikes that are peppered throughout the city.
And what about if you really only care about like finding the best school for your kids?
It's going to be West Austin again. Everything west of 35 usually has 5-star rated schools. Eanes ISD is by far one of the most highly sought after, but it's also the highest price per square foot that you're going to pay. So you pay to be close in.
Yeah, makes sense. And what if you're a huge foodie? What's the best place to go?
Houston.
Wow.
I know. I'm sorry, Austin. We love you.
Oh, we might have to cut that one. And what if you love to travel and you really just care about like convenience? What would you say is going to be the best spot?
Well, if you love to travel and you want convenience, I would either put you in the Domain area so that you can take the train downtown and vice versa. So downtown, so your O1s or your Domain or even anything in Southeast Austin that puts you close to the airport is a fantastic investment.
Okay. What if you're someone like me that absolutely loves breweries? Where are you going to say is the best place to live?
Ooh, breweries are throughout the city. They are amazing. They have really, really great breweries. I'm partial to down south, so that's where I'm coming from. I would put you in South Austin again, but they do have some really great breweries up north. I do like South a little bit better because you get the wineries, the distilleries. It's just a little bit better variety.
Yeah, I mean, you can go all the way out to Dripping Springs in Fredericksburg for the wine country. So,
yeah.
So many other options out there. What if you want to find a good high rise? What side of town are you going to be? And I know it's obviously going to be downtown, but are we talking west downtown, east? What's your opinion?
A good high rise is going to be anything closest to the river because you want those views overall. Seaholm has always been a great staple, but if you're in Seaholm facing west, you're going to have that train. For people who come from cities like Chicago, they might be used to the train sounds. That would be a building I would definitely point out. Otherwise, of course, the Austonian, those are always classics that people gravitate towards.
Yeah. And of course, everyone in Austin has their own opinions on places like the Independent with its crown and.
Correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of your more memorable experiences helping people finding the right part of town?
The most memorable experiences when helping people find the right part of town is finding them something that they didn't know that they wanted. When they explicitly told me they did not want something. But as I pry with questions and I ask them just to get more details, I hear something that they say that makes me think, okay, they're saying this, but I'm not sure why they're saying that they don't want this area when I think it actually might be perfect. And so introducing them, we go and look at homes they like, and then I'll usually throw in a, hey, just humor me. Just humor me for a second. Let's just do this real quick. And that's usually the showstopper.
Yeah. So usually something with the giant like floor to ceiling glass walls or windows or something like that, or is it something usually like a lot like more surprising?
You know, really neither. It's something that fits certain needs and they check the box, but it's not in the area that they thought. I had a client that knew they did not want to be in town whatsoever. They wanted to be outside of town. They wanted land, but they didn't want to take care of land. They wanted views, but the views weren't all that important when I talked to them about it. They wanted unobstructive, but when prying about why that's important, there was no real reason behind it. So we looked at properties around Allendale, new construction. I was like, just humor me. You really like new construction. I feel like this is going to be it. It's a custom build, and it didn't have a bunch of glass. It was just that property. They want an entertainment space. They want giant blank walls to put their artwork on. They want to entertain. They want something that has great flow. So when the neighbors come in, the wife is playing the piano and the husband's out back barbecuing. It has just a really beautiful flow. And when they saw it, they knew. But it was in an area they said, absolutely not. We don't want downtown.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah, that new construction always strikes me as everyone's like, oh, you've got to be like a family that's just starting out to like get new construction or something like that. What do you say is like the biggest difference? What's the message for somebody that holds that kind of view?
First of all, anybody's perception on they can't afford something, let's talk. But as far as new construction, there's different tiers all over. They make really affordable new construction just on the outskirts. They're not building a ton inland, but if you want something infill, then you will be paying a premium for it. And so that's when it gets a little bit pricier, but you can get new construction at all price points. It just really depends on where.
Yeah. So you obviously you love helping your buyers, but I know the best thing you've done, because I've seen so many people do it, is just the selling side of things. What's that one piece of advice that we can take away when we want to start talking about selling real estate in Austin?
Oh, the one takeaway: prepare your home. Buyers like shiny pennies right now, and they have for the last several years. I cannot stress enough about getting your home prepared. It might cost you $40,000 to put into your home to either update some of the floors or repaint or power wash. It's worth it because the buyers notice. And stage your home, because half of the time it's really hard for buyers to envision their life in these homes. You need to stage it for them. You need to paint the picture for them. That's what they're buying.
So one of those whole things where it's just tell a story and make it so that it's just like blatantly obvious for people.
Absolutely. Don't just put a chair in the corner and be like, here's a scale for size, but you need to make it look beautiful and nice. They're not buying the furniture. They would love to. I've gotten that question a lot. Good job, stagers. But you want to give them a different perception, because a lot of times buyers go on emotion, and so you need to help them emotionally connect to that house, and you do that by showing them how living would be.
Yeah, I saw a house that was listed for $750,000 once, and it was staged with an air mattress, and I was just like, oh my god, why have you seen anything like that crazy as like you've gone, because I'm sure you've gone through more homes that have been on the market than anything else. And you work with a lot of higher end stuff, but you also see a wide variety. What's been the craziest thing you've seen in a home for staging?
You'd be surprised, when we're in a really hot seller's market and stagers really struggle to have enough inventory to put in these homes. A lot of times, yes, the air mattress is a thing. Just don't jump on it. Yes, they cover it with beautiful covers and duvets and things like that. But a lot of times I've seen them use cardboard boxes. And so they ask, kids, please don't jump on the bed because you're going to completely crush it. So yes, I have seen people go as far as using cardboard boxes and decorating them to look like something.
Wow. Man, it boggles my mind just how everything we see all this great photography and everything, and then it's all just smoke and mirrors at some point.
Absolutely. If you see a property that's almost too good to be true, but they don't show you any views of the backyard, there's a reason.
Yeah.
If you see the front of the house and the curb appeal is immaculate and there's one photo, there's a reason. So there's always a reason. The camera does, they're not going to show you the bad photos. And if they do, they probably shouldn't. But there's a reason. You need really to be there, boots on the ground, to see and feel what's happening in there and smell the smells. Let me put it that way.
So it's like when they have the really close cropped shot of the house, it's because the neighbors have like awful yards and everything. You're going to be stuck with that.
There's a reason. Always go and visit the home in the daytime, in the evenings, see what your neighbors are doing in their extracurricular activities, see if you agree with them.
Yeah. What would you say is like the ideal number of times to go visit a house to get the whole vibe behind it instead of, oh, we saw it one time and it was nice. It was in perfect day, under perfect light, and under perfect conditions.
You know, that's really different. It's a personality question. So the people who tend to make quick, decisive decisions need to see a home once or twice and they're good. But the people who are more feelers or emotional people, also the people who want to measure everything, it doesn't matter if you give them a floor plan with the measurements, they still want to measure it. They just want to physically be in the house and feel connected to it. So there's no set number of times that somebody needs to be in a house to feel good about it. But I say on average, it's probably about 4 times within 30 days, which doesn't sound like a lot.
Yeah. 30 days, though, that's a pretty quick turnaround time. Isn't the market usually moving a little bit quicker than that?
But when somebody goes under contract on a house to feel comfortable to stay under contract, it's usually about 4 times in 30 days. But I think when somebody makes a decision on a home, they might see it maybe 2 times. And the first time is the initial wow factor. And the second time you start picking up on things you missed the first time. And that usually makes or breaks your decision.
Yeah. And always make sure that you come out for the home inspection, right?
1,000%. 1,000%.
Tell me a bit more. Home inspection obviously is a very important part. A lot of times we saw a lot of homes that they had the inspections waived. Have you seen anything that is showing that it's always going to be the good idea to keep the home inspection, or waiving the inspection is okay? What's your thought?
Waiving the inspection is never okay. Ever. Even if it's brand new construction, never okay.
Okay. Let's talk client pain points, because I know you have a lot that you like to solve for your clients.
Yes.
So obviously, like, buying a luxury home is going to present a very interesting set of unique needs and challenges. What are some of the most common concerns that you end up having to address for your clients? And how do you help them mitigate those complexities?
I think the biggest pain point for clients are probably those families, like, are we going to like the schools? Are we going to like the neighbors? Are we going to like the feel of the neighborhood? And a lot of times those are people that are relocating, and they're just the whole move is terrifying. Moving states is absolutely terrifying when you don't know, much about the surrounding area that you're moving to. And the way I would handle that is, honestly, I would put people in a rental first. Let's get as close as we can to your target area based off of what you're talking about, and let's spend the next year going to really explore the different areas, because you might realize you don't like Austin after all, and you might. And that's just something that could save you a ton of money by just slowing the process down and really assessing your wants and your needs.
Yeah. Do you think that, do you think a year is enough time or too much time? Do you think maybe 3 or 6 months is better? Or do you think that the year's that sweet spot so people can see and feel all the seasons in Austin? Because we all know the people that have moved to Austin after coming for South by Southwest and then discover summer here.
I always warn about summer here. That is actually my first joke that I make to everybody. I think a year is actually probably safe. It might be too much time for some people, but there are some people that haven't quite decided where they're going to work yet, or they find friends that they want to move closer towards. So I think a year is probably a good, safe bet. Of course, people who can make rapid decisions, 3 months is great, but good luck getting out of that lease. That could be challenging.
Fingers crossed. You know plenty of property managers. You know how it is to plan ahead for these sorts of things.
Absolutely.
Those month-to-month leases in Austin, they're pretty crazy at this juncture.
They really are. You just have to find different ways to work with the landlord and appeal to them, because if you're able to break the lease in 6 months, but that 6 months puts the landlord subletting it out in May, that's super attractive to them. You don't have to pay an arm and a leg, but maybe if it's October and you want to get out, you might want to give them a couple extra months for free and help put a tenant in there.
Yeah, makes sense. So Let's talk real estate issues, and let's talk about like these professional issues that I hear. I heard something about this thing called clear cooperation, but I didn't quite understand it. Can you explain it to me, and what are your opinions on it?
Sure. Most of our real estate lingo is just like medical jargon to people, and it's very easy to forget that people don't live in our worlds every single day. Clear cooperation is something that they're trying to pass. A lot of cities and states are for it. A lot of people in Austin are not. So clear cooperation is basically where every seller's on a level playing field. This is where it takes away your pocket listings, your off-market listings, all your hush-hush properties. So again, the privacy that you're gifting to your clients is being taken away to where everybody gets an opportunity to see it on the MLS. Every buyer can see it. And while I can see in some markets that that would be beneficial because everybody deserves a fair shot at whatever house, there are those people that move here because they want the privacy. Maybe their assets are, quite a bit higher than others, and they don't want everyone to see what they have. They don't want to be targeted. So I am against clear cooperation because my clients, they come to us because we have the knowledge for the private market. We have the amazing back end expertise with dealing with higher net worth individuals that do need to keep their assets secret.
Yeah, when discretion is just such a key part of the transaction, you want to make sure that it exists. How often do you see those off-market listings come along? Or is it something that you see fairly frequently?
Constant. There are so many daily. And it's about who you know, but then that's also where agents aren't all equal because many agents don't actually know about these. And then it's invite only or production only. You have to have a high number of production to even be invited into these. So it's really about who you know and what you know.
And so since you've lived in Austin your entire life, it makes it really easy to have access to some of those really nice off-market listings.
Absolutely. But it's also about being able to reach that certain production to where you're invited into the more luxury department where those properties are listed. And although they're trying to do away with a lot of these to level the playing field for all agents and all buyers, it's still extremely beneficial to align yourself with somebody who has had years of experience, especially in these price points, and especially with this type of clientele.
What do you see as the most beneficial part of being able to work on these types of listings with clients?
The most beneficial part about working on these listings is you get to experience their dreams. So a lot of higher end clients tend to they reach for the stars, and rightfully so, but they have all these amazing dreams and aspirations for what they want from their property and for their next property. And so you have to figure out how to make that a possibility for them. You have to get extremely creative with it. It's not a cookie cutter house in a cookie cutter neighborhood. You really need to go above and beyond. Some of these are extremely hard to price because they are such rare properties, and that's where experience and education come in so that you know how to price those homes.
Yeah, and when you find it priced just right, it's like the hidden gem.
Yeah, that sweet spot. There's nothing better. They do not last in any market. Those homes go.
So what are some of your favorite hidden gems?
As far as locations, homes, or
as far as like homes and luxury high-end homes that you've seen that you've gotten to sell, what have been some of like your favorite hidden gems?
Honestly, so I grew up out in the country, and I really enjoy the gentleman ranches because you have the acreage. Of course, you have the pool that has the beautiful 180-degree panoramic view, but then you might have horses or equestrian nearby, which is always fun. And 9 times out of 10, those properties have a wine cellar or a cigar room, and it's just the little touches like that are just, they make you feel like your home is just extraordinary.
Gotta have horses, gotta have the wine cellar.
Why not?
Every horse girl's dream.
I know.
Oh, so how would you say is going to be like the best way to get in touch with you to get access to some of these listings, to be able to work with you? What would you say for somebody that's coming into Austin, they haven't lived here before? Obviously, they can find you on the internet and everything like that. What's the best way to make a good introduction with you?
I honestly prefer text message the best because if I'm in an appointment, I can see it and I can respond later. If you call me but don't leave a voicemail, you're going to get lost in the masses. So probably a text message. Email is probably second best. I do stay on top of my emails, but if you really want to get something done fast, that's probably the best way to reach me.
Texting over everything.
Yes.
As we see Austin's growing and we're getting into bigger and better things, what do you see as some of these future trends for these luxury homes in Austin? Where do you see us moving with them?
So the biggest trends right now is really funny because outside, the exterior of the homes are typically very moody. So you have like your deep navies and your blacks and things like that. It was the farmhouse whites a few years back, and I think we're getting into the exteriors just being very moody and dark, and then the interiors, you want wide plank, blonde flooring, Scandinavian, just anything that is bright and brings light in. So it's funny, you have dark on the outside but bright on the inside. I think that we're going to see a lot more glass and metal. That seems to be the biggest thing. Very fun to clean, and you have to find ways to keep birds from hitting your window all the time, but that's something that people are gravitating more towards because that natural light is so important here.
Yeah, so you were talking about like how important it is to stage the house and everything like that. What advice would you give to somebody that has one of those farmhouse white houses with the darker interior? Help to get it to have that more curb appeal, have it more of that like approach that's going to wow sellers. We all remember when the like honey maple like cabinets were like an in thing, and then you go and see them 20 years later and they're like, oh God, really that? No.
It depends on how bad a home is as to how far you need to go to make it stage ready. If we're talking the maple and everything's very dark and heavy, we might need to discuss, on a lighter, easier budget, maybe change some colors. So paint some cabinetry, change the countertop. If the floor plan is just not working for what this day and age is looking for and your target audience needs, let's talk about a kitchen remodel. That's going to be your biggest selling point is your kitchen. Then we move from there. If you don't have the budget to do those updates, it's all in the staging. That's when we partner with our stagers for everything, and we help get the furniture to lift and elevate some of the darkness from the rooms.
Awesome. All right. So in a very short time, say someone comes to you and they're like, I need to sell my home and I need to get out of here relatively quickly because I'm done with everything here. What's going to be your advice to them about just getting that staging done properly? Like, how would you say is going to be the best way to go about it?
How soon can you meet? Let's meet in person. Let's go through your home. Let's make that checklist. Let's see where we're at. Let's go with your timeline and work backwards. Do we need to get a stager ASAP? Sure, we can do that. It's just figuring out what works best for your timeline, and we make it happen.
Cool. And so when they're staging, are you a big fan of saying, get everything out and get moved ahead of time? Or I know a lot of people like to still live in their house while it's listed on the market. Which is the better option for you?
For me, the better option for me when listing a home.
In your opinion in general.
I like vacant homes because you can do so much more. You can stage so many more pieces. Stagers will offer more pieces and nicer pieces when it's vacant. A lot of times when a home is occupied, stagers don't want to put a ton of their furniture in there because it's going to cost more because if you damage it, you're on the hook for that. You can schedule showings a lot better. It's just easier when a home's vacant, but I understand that's not the case for everyone.
Let's get back to that moving to Austin because it's such a big topic. Like, I've always heard that the national pastime of Austin, Texas is hating every person that moves here the day after you move in. And I know you obviously, you very much care about that level of service. What do you typically do to make sure that those people that are working with you to get moved into Austin, where it's a place where they don't necessarily know that they're going to like it, what type of things do you typically do to make sure that those people get that experience and really feel like, oh yeah, this is the right move to come to Austin?
Yeah, so it's extremely nerve-wracking to move and have no idea about where you're at. So what I like to do is if you're coming to visit, great, let's schedule a time to visit. Let's sit down. Let's ask those questions up front to find out what are your hobbies. It's not so much talking shop. It's sitting down. Tell me about your life. Tell me about what you're looking for. And based off of what they have in their answers is how I cater our weekend together or something like that. Do we need to go around? Do we need to go have barbecue? Have they never had Do they know what Tex-Mex is? Let's go have a whole bunch of cheese. So it's finding the things that they would gravitate for to sell them on Austin.
Do you have any particular favorites that you've gotten to take people to see while they've been in town?
Oh, I think that I'm such a sucker for Tex-Mex. I made the joke about that, but it's the margarita and queso. It's all cheese, and they love it. They eat it up. The barbecue's always great too, but it's the queso.
We're going to Chili's at 45th and Lamar.
Oh, gosh.
Queso.
We're going to Matt's El Rancho.
Oh, Maudie's is always a good choice in here too.
That's true.
God, there really are too many options around Austin for this.
That's the beauty of it.
That's the greatest thing about Austin. I mean, it's just like, it's a giant playground at times. Whatever you want to do, you can find it here.
And that's what I tell people too, is there's something for everyone. And if you can't find it here, then this might not be your place.
Yeah. Let's get into the lightning round here, because we're starting to get towards the end here. What's your favorite feature in a luxury home?
The wine cellars.
Always the wine cellar. Most rewarding part of helping clients find their dream properties.
So a lot of high-end clients have really high expectations, and they're used to being delivered a certain level of service. Wowing them whenever you've exceeded those expectations, absolutely wowing them is so rewarding.
What's the one offbeat feature that every luxury home should have?
There needs to be a hidden gem in every luxury home, like a unique selling point, something that just really makes it stand out, whether that's the most immaculate outdoor living space or whether that is beautiful swimming pool or your kitchen is just the 5-star chef's kitchen everybody wants. It needs to have a super unique selling point that just makes it stand out from everybody else.
All right. What's the biggest misconception about luxury real estate?
That you can't afford it.
Man, that's the lightning round. Thanks so much for stopping by, Lindsay. It's been just absolutely incredible having you here. I'm so thankful for you to take the time out to come see with us, and we'll see you in the next episode, everybody. Thanks again.
Absolutely, my pleasure.